So here's the filler metal designation for it. RG65, RG60, and RG45. R indicates welding rod, G indicates gas welding. Numbers designate approximate tensile strength of weld metal, thousands pounds per square inch. 65, 60, 45. Commonly, what's usually used in the world, in most shops, is we're going to use the same filler metal we use for TIG welding. It's going to be an ER70S. Now it's very important that the 2 and the 6 are the 2 that you want to use that can also be used for braze welding as well. Okay? Not all of them, but those are the most common, usually a 70S-2 or a 6 are the ones you can use for TIG plus brazing as well. Okay? You know, back in the day, they used to use, and you still can, use coat hangers to be able to weld things up, fix mufflers and so forth. It's not holding a lot of pressure, not holding a lot of stress. You know, it's amazing what some of that stuff will do. Look here, welding rod at the tensile strength 60,000. Can produce welds of varying tensile strength depending upon nature of base metal. So see right here, I mean right there, 60,000 PSI, that's the same tensile strength as E6010 shielded metal arc welding electrodes, right? So just because it can still be the same strength and quality and just as good of a weld if it's done right, gas welding, oxy-fuel welding or oxyacetylene welding, as it is with other welding procedures as well. This is the biggest part. It just takes some getting used to. More than likely you started out either shielded metal arc welding or gas metal arc welding. Okay, so you've been using one hand. By the time you go to oxy-fuel welding or TIG torch, the gas tungsten arc welding, then you have to start using 2 hands, one to add, one to weld, one to add, one to weld. And it just takes a little bit of coordination until you get comfortable, just like anything else, riding a bike and everything there. It's going to take a little bit of practice to be able to get that hand-eye coordination down. Okay? RG65 can produce welds from 65 to 75,000 PSI. It's pretty amazing. I love oxy-fuel welding. I think it's a fun welding process. Later on, different chapter, we'll talk more about brazing. Okay, this one's mainly the welding portion that we're dealing with. This is RG45, mild steels, wrought iron, 40 to 50,000 PSI as well. Fluxes, sometimes you want to use fluxes, sometimes you don't, depends on the material, so forth. Sometimes, you know, a lot of times when right before I'll weld, I'll take and I'll put some emery cloth and I'll get my filler metal ER70S-2 and I'll get my filler metal and I'll run the emery cloth up and down it just to kind of take that silicone right off the edge of that filler metal. I'm going to absorb it right into the weld pool right away. Just kind of helps me clean it up. I make sure to get my base metal real clean as well, because if there's a lot of mill scale on it, it'll easily be pulled into that weld pool. It's not as much force. This is more of kind of a flow pattern instead of like with the electric arc welding. It's more of a forced weld. So sometimes it'll drag the impurities into the weld pool a lot easier than it would with different welding processes. Oxyhydrogen welding, you can read about this. We're going to skip over it. We're not going to get too crazy into it. Very few places use it. If you do, you'll get out there. Your company will be able to give you more extensive training in it and so forth. Different fuel gases, propane, butane, natural gas, so forth. Read through this section as well. Air acetylene welding, pretty neat stuff. Yeah, read through it on your own as well. Supporting equipment, welding table. You want to make sure that you have a place for it to go. If you're trying to do gas welding on top of a solid bench, more than likely your fuel gas is going to be going through the welded joint and bouncing back up, kind of blowing your puddle back up at you, okay? So you want to make sure that if you're doing it, that you have a place for your fuel gas to go to where it's not reflecting back and affecting your weld pattern on the back side. Use many different forms of equipment to get it in the right place, just like normal welding, same thing. Goggles. Most of us will have a torch setting inside of our hood, number 5 minimum, okay? Don't use sunglasses. Sunglasses are not approved. And I say that because I've had welders burn from using sunglasses. They actually make safety glass sunglasses now. I've used goggles. I've got a pair of goggles that are sealed all the way around. I personally like the big, large face shield that's all number 5 shaded. You don't have as much pressure. You got room to breathe. You can see the entire thing's just a number 5, or my welding hood has good clarity as well. Okay. Hazards, the same as anything, sparks, bits of metal, hot stuff. Now gloves. This is the one thing that I definitely want to talk about. It seems inevitable that as you're gas welding, that flame is not just going to be directed at the weld itself, but the flame, the fuel gases are going to shoot, like, they're going to bounce off of the piece that you're welding, and they're going to shoot right up the end of that weld joint, and it seems like you'll go through more pairs of gloves, welding gloves, even big heavy duty ones, than you did with anything else. So when I'm oxyacetylene welding, sometimes I'll use like a lighter glove with my right hand for finer dexterity, and I'll use a big heavy like arc welding glove on my left. And I usually have a pair that I save for oxy-fuel welding or air arcing that have got burnt ends and everything else that aren't totally mutilated and drawed up, but you're able to put them, help feed it in, and I'm not going to burn a brand new pair of $30 gloves up, okay? If you have an older pair you switched out, save that older pair for, especially for this course, going forward and so forth, all right? Check valves, again, just make sure you turn everything off when you're done, bleed everything down, make sure that your gas is not sitting inside of your torch. You have flashback arresters, I'm sorry. Follow all safety operating procedures. You can look at flashback arresters, general procedures. Feel free to look through these on your own. I don't have any of them specifically that I want to focus on. Okay, that's the end of chapter 5. Thank you very much and have a nice day.